Hey everybody, it's been a little bit, we've been running pretty hard, so it's time for a video and an update with my students and a little trip planning. Tubiest of the tubiest, the best YouTube subscribers on the planet. That's you. And I'm 50 plus. There's plus one. So, yeah, we've had a busy couple of days, and you're going to benefit from some of that busyness really soon. But as for today, we're going to do a little trip planning, and we're going to let you guys come along with us. So here we go. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to go from Salt Lake City, Utah to Loveland, Colorado. We did that yesterday. We just came back from there, right? And it took us roughly 11 hours or so of drive time, okay? Now, we're going to pretend that we didn't do that, okay? Mm-hmm. And what we're going to do is we'll look at the Qualcomm, and a Qualcomm would have a destination page on a Qualcomm, and that's where we go to look at how many miles that trip is going to take. Okay? And for this purposes, we're going to say that the trip showed 500 miles to the destination and a 50-mile deadhead. Deadhead 50 miles means from where we're sitting right now without the load, we need to go to the shipper. We have to drive to the customer. Of course, we're driving to the customer without the load because that's where we're going to pick up the load. Okay? Our trailer's empty and we're driving to the customer to pick up the load. That is called deadhead. Okay, and they're going to pay you for that, and that's that extra 50. So on the destination page, it's going to have 500 miles and 50 miles deadhead. Okay, we have to include them together in our trip plan. So we're going to say 550 miles. So let's start right here, and this before we're going to do our math right here. Let's put 550 miles right there. 550. Okay, all right, and we're going to divide that by the miles we're going to drive, the speed we're going to drive, which is going to be 50 miles an hour. So, at 50 miles an hour is going to equal 11 hours of driving. Okay, all right, and because that is longer than 8 hours of driving, the DOT says we must take a 30-minute break. So we have to add 30 minutes to that 11 hours. So now our run is going to take us 11 and a half hours. Okay? Okay, because when we get to the shipper, they're not going to magically throw a trailer on the back of us. This is a drop and hook, so there's not a lot of time, but some. Because when you go to the shipper, right, you got to drop your trailer and pick up the next trailer. Yep. That's going to take time. Let's add 30 minutes at the shipper to pick up our load. So let's add 30 minutes to that and make it 12 hours. Okay, as we're doing this, there you go. That's what I want you to do. Write those little notes, and that's going to kind of help you keep track of what we're doing. So now we know that our trip is going to, at the very minimum, be a 12-hour trip. Okay? All right, so now what we want to do is look at the destination page on a Qualcomm, and it's going to tell us what time we need to be at the shipper. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Our appointment time, we already saw it, and it was 5 a.m. But it's 5 a.m. tomorrow, obviously. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the 6th is tomorrow. The 5th is today. We're going to go find the spot where it's 5 a.m. Okay? We don't plan to be at our shipper at 5 a.m., right? We always plan to be at our shipper what?
Early.
And that's going to be 1 hour early. So we're going to say 4. So 4 o'clock is going to be our appointment. So let's put a dog leg straight down. And under that, we're going to put A, which is going to stand for appointment time. Okay, you can put APT if you want, appointment, you know. All right. So now, let's walk back 12 hours.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
One more. 12. Boom. Okay. Now, right there, we're going to put a dog leg straight down. And we're going to put ML, and that's going to stand for must leave. Okay? That means if we leave any later than that time, we will be late. We must leave right there. Okay? That's what that means. We must leave at 4. Now, we need to, at this point, decide whether or not we're going to be able to make, and you'll know this from your body. Your body tells you already, and you know, if you're a person that has to take, you know, a break before the 30, or you need 2 15-minute breaks in between, now is the time to add that. And so let's say we like to take 2 15-minute breaks, little, you know, tinkle breaks or whatever. It's going to add 30 minutes. So let's go back to now 3:30. Okay. Now dog leg up between that 3 and 3:30. Up. No, we're going up. We're going to dog leg up. There you go. And that's where we're going to circle that and put a 1. And that's going to indicate for us, for our purposes, 1 stop. Okay, it could be 2, but what we're doing is making note that we have already added in 30 minutes of personal time of breaks in that run. Okay. Yep. Okay. Now we need to look at the weather map. We need to look at the traffic and make sure that we don't need to add time for traffic. So let's just say we looked at the traffic on the maps, and you can also use the local traffic on the radio. There are stations, and I'll show you stations on the radio that's specifically set for traffic and weather. Okay, so we'll look at those, and they'll tell us if I-80 has high winds like it did when we drove last night.
Yeah.
Okay, it'll say if it's got, you know, backed up traffic. You will know. Okay, so let's say for traffic and weather, we calculated that we're going to have to add another hour of drive time. So let's now go to 2:30, and we're gonna dog leg down, and that's going to say you can put TW, traffic weather, for that one. Okay. All right. Now we should have everything pretty much in our trip plan that we're gonna need. Okay. So at this point, 2:30 is our new must leave. Okay, if we leave after that, we might have some issues. Okay, we might not be able to stop at that one. You know, things like that could happen. You know, so we need to keep that in mind. Another thing we need to keep in mind is we're not gonna drive 50 miles an hour for 550 miles. Okay, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna bump it up. We're not gonna drive that speed, but that's where you calculate, because you just don't know what could happen. Okay, so now let's start counting hours. So start at 2:30 and start counting. So yes. Well, start right here and go. Yep. Count your little humps. 1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's 13 and a half.
13 and a half hours. Okay, so if we calculate that run right and it works out just like we planned it, it's going to take us 13 and a half hours to get to our customer today. Well, it will be tomorrow, but the customer that we're leaving today, we're going to have to leave at that time to be at our customer on time, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Our clock only has 14 hours, so that means when we get there, we'll only have 30 minutes remaining on our clock. Okay, that's information that we need to keep at the forefront of our mind, and as we make our trips, that, you know, we're planning it correctly. Okay, that we're not taking too long extra breaks, because if we do, we ain't gonna make it. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Now, but we know that we're gonna make this easy, because again, we've built in buffer here. Okay, with 50 miles an hour. Okay. But we could lose a little bit of that depending on how much time we spend at the shipper picking up that load.
Yep.
Okay, so it's a lot of things to take into factor, and that's the reason why we buffer in all that extra time. Okay. Now our appointment time is at 5, right? So what's going to end up happening is we're going to get there, and then we're going to be early. If it worked out exactly like we planned right here, we'll get there early, and by the time the shipper is ready for us to start unloading, we're going to run out of DOT time and not have him be able to unload, right?
Yep.
All right. So that is something else we're going to have to take in consideration on the next question. All right. Let's say that you got this load, and it is right now 2 o'clock. So let's circle 2 o'clock on the 5th there. Okay. And the load needs to be delivered at, let's say, 1 a.m. tomorrow. Okay. So circle at 1 a.m. I want to know if they sent you a trip that said you needed to have this at the customer at 1 a.m. Should you accept that load or not?
It has to be at 1.
Correct. And it's 2 o'clock.
No.
Nope. You're not going to take that load. Why won't you take that load?
I have like 12 hours. 12 hours, and it's not filling my 14-hour clock.
Yeah, well, let's also do this.
I only have 11 hours to drive, and I have to take a 30-minute break.
So we've calculated that it's going to take you how many hours to get there? Don't you figure? 12 hours, right?
Yeah.
So let's start at 2 o'clock and start counting up hours.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11
hours. So in 11 hours, they want you to take a load that we both know it's going to take you 12, correct?
Yeah.
That's how you know you're not going to take this load. You're going to let them know you're not going to decline it. You're just going to put on there what time you believe you can get it there. And as soon as that you can get it there, it's going to be what time?
It's 4.
4. So we're going to put a counter in the Qualcomm. We don't decline loads. We're going to put a counter in there and say, I'll accept this load if you'll let me get it there at 4. Not 1, because it's impossible. I cannot get it there. I don't have enough time. You see?
Mm-hmm.
And then they will determine whether or not they can make that work with the customer. You follow? And that's how we're going to do every trip. Before you accept the load, you need to map it out like this and do that quick math in your head, or use these what this actually is a paper log. And at any terminal, you can go in there and say, give me a 1,000 paper logs, and they'll give you 2,000 because they got a bunch of them. Okay? But we're going to keep some of those, and you can always do your trip planning on paper, just like it's really simple. But we have to work backwards. Okay?
Right.
We have to work backwards, and then and make sure that you have enough time to get to the load, to the destination. Include, a lot of people don't think about this. You have to pick up the load. You're not gonna drive past the shipper and all of a sudden magically the trailer you're gonna pick up is attached to you, right?
Yeah.
You have to add time to go into the shipper, get your paperwork, drop your trailer, pick up the new the loaded trailer, go back to the guard shack, do your macros. You have a lot of stuff to do before you start this journey, okay? And that you have to add into your load. So you know how I always say, we go to sleep under our new load, okay? Meaning after we're done with the current load, if in any way possible, we want to make it to our next shipper, get under the load and forward it some, even if it's forwarding to a truck stop to park. You know why we do that? Because when we do our trip planning next time, we don't have to add in that time to go to a shipper. We can calculate our run from the amount of time available on our clock to drive, which is 11 hours. That's how I can make those videos that says, hey man, I drove 660 miles. You no way. Yes way. It's because I went to sleep under my load, and I could wake up and just start burning fuel. Okay? And so that's how all this stuff starts to make sense to you. And we're going to continue to do this. We're going to do it every day. And you're going to plan them all, even though we know how long it's going to take, because we just went there. We went there yesterday. Right. We just got back. So we know.
Yeah.
But this is for practice purposes. Okay? And eventually you're going to know, in my head, I know if I'm driving in 5 hours, I'm planning on doing, 300 miles. And I can look at 300 miles, I can be there in 5 hours of running. Okay? And then I can add 30 minutes at the shipper, now we 5.5 hours. And there's no 30-minute break because it's only a 300-mile run. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's how we start adding. So that's when you don't need these. You can do it in your head. But when you use these little trip deals here, these log sheets to practice the trip timing, how long it's going to take you to get there. This is time to. This part of trip planning is only the time that we need to leave, how many breaks we're going to get. We're writing down or putting on paper the time we need to leave to get to where we're going to be. Okay? And when you write it down, you can see any mistakes that you've made. Okay? Along that journey, if it's more than a day's run, you can plan your day like this, and somewhere in that, you're going to have to put in where you're going to shut down. And then we're going to do that with using Trucker Path and some other routes, okay?
Oh, okay.
The way you can find out where you're going to stop. Let's say if this run was a 2 or 3 day run. You're going to need to sleep. You're going to need to park. You need to be able to find those parking spots. And then at this point right here, that appointment is actually going to be parked. And at that point, that truck stop you was looking for better be there. So we look at Trucker Path and say, in 550 miles on our path, what is 550 miles away from us? And look on Trucker Path and find a truck stop around 550 miles. It might be 520 miles.
Well,
you may not be able to drive all 550, okay?
Yeah.
Which is fine. We don't care. We just don't need it to be 560 because we out of DOT time, right? We can't do that.
Nope.
And so when we get to that part of the trip planning, then that's what we're going to do. And that part's simple. This the part we need to make sure of. And that's going to, because that's every day. We need to know what time we need to leave to get to where we need to be on time. And this is how we do it. Simple enough?
Yep.
All right.
So far, I'll be doing the paper lots for a while though.
Yeah.
So I get used
correct.
to it.
Correct. And they'll say you can get as many of them as you want from the Swift got they got trees that drop those things and so you can get them at the terminal, no problem. They hand them to you and you ain't paying nothing.
Either that, just write them out.
Yeah, and I like using those because it has a timeline and you can make those little hump jump things like that, and then you can go back and count them real easy. But your trip is written out, and it's going to be simple. Okay. So, any questions?
No, not right now. I'm pretty sure I'll pick your brain later.
That's fine. That's right. Dubious. So, we discussed this part of the trip planning was you planning the amount of time it takes you to get where you're going and what time you need to get going. Okay, and the next part of this will be for trips that take longer than one day. Okay. Obviously, we're dedicated, so kind of get there in one day and then turn around and come right back the next day. And well, for us, he drives out there, and I turn around and drive us back, and then rest a little bit, and then do the same the next day. So it's like 1,000 miles a day, pretty much. That's how it is. But works out real good, and so I'm gonna put an imaginary trip up that's gonna take us several days, and then we're gonna plan out the middle of those runs. So we'll plan out how long it's gonna take for us to get to where we gotta go, and how much we gotta drive each day to make it happen, all that good stuff. And it's pretty simple. They're a lot easier than one-day runs with almost a full-hour clock run, which is what 550 miles is. It's almost a full clock, and it's tricky because when you get to the customer, you got to have enough time remaining on your clock for them to live unload you. So it can be a little tricky, but we make it work. Okay, so I hope this was informative for you guys. If you got any questions, put them down yonder. Okay, and we're going to. Well, just for a quick update, today is a Saturday, and tomorrow he will be halfway, 100 hours halfway. So we're rolling right along to his wife. He'll be home soon. I'm going to send him home to you real soon. Okay? All right, guys, here's your boop. Deliver undistracted. Here's your boop.
Hi, this is Autumn, and I'm a recruiter here at Swift Transportation, and I would love to help you get your trucking career started. Please give me a call on the contact information that is going to display at the end of this video. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and then there's also a cell phone number you can text or that you can call if for after hours. I look forward to speaking with you. Just please make sure that you contact me before you do any inquiries online or call Swift at all. That way I can make sure that you are taken care of and I'm your recruiter.